The Great Expectations was written by Charles Dickens. He was a famous English writer from the 19th century, known for telling powerful stories about life in Victorian England. Great Expectations was first published in 1861. The book talks about growing up, making mistakes, learning lessons, and understanding what really matters in life. It also shows the differences between rich and poor people during that time and how society judged people by money and class. The story is told by a young boy named Pip who lives in the countryside with his sister and her husband, Joe. Joe is a kind blacksmith, and Pip grows up thinking he will become a blacksmith too. But everything changes one day when Pip meets a strange escaped prisoner in a graveyard. Even though Pip is scared, he helps the man by bringing him food and a file to cut his chains. This small act of kindness becomes very important later in the story. Soon after, Pip is invited to the house of a rich and mysterious old woman named Miss Havisham. She is unlike anyone Pip has ever met. She wears an old wedding dress every day and has not left her house in years. Miss Havisham was left by her fiancé on her wedding day, and since then she has stopped everything around her from moving forward. Pip also meets her adopted daughter, Estella, who is beautiful but cold. Estella has been taught by Miss Havisham to break men's hearts, and Pip starts to fall in love with her, even though she often treats him badly. After visiting Miss Havisham's house, Pip begins to feel ashamed of his simple life. He wishes to become a gentleman and win Estella's love. He doesn't want to be a blacksmith anymore. This causes distance between him and Joe, who has always been good to him. Pip starts to think that becoming rich and important is the only way to be happy. One day, a lawyer named Mr. Jaggers comes to Pip and gives him surprising news. A secret person has given him a large fortune, and he is going to London to become a gentleman. Pip believes that Miss Havisham is his secret benefactor and that she wants him to marry Estella. He leaves his home and Joe behind, excited for his new life. In London, Pip starts his new life as a gentleman. He makes new friends, especially a young man named Herbert Pocket. Herbert teaches Pip how to behave like someone from a higher class. But Pip also begins to spend too much money and becomes proud and careless. Even though he is getting what he wanted, he is not as happy as he expected. Later in the story, Pip discovers something that shocks him. His real benefactor is not Miss Havisham, but the escaped prisoner he helped many years ago. The man's name is Abel Magwitch. He made money in Australia and never forgot how Pip helped him as a child. Magwitch returned to England even though it was dangerous for him, just to see Pip living a good life. This news changes everything for Pip. He realizes that he has been wrong about where his fortune came from and who really cared about him. At first, Pip feels angry and ashamed to learn that his wealth came from a criminal. But slowly, he begins to respect Magwitch and wants to protect him. This shows how Pip has grown as a person. He is no longer just thinking about money or class. He starts to understand what real kindness and loyalty look like. Meanwhile, things become more difficult. Magwitch is in danger because if the police catch him in England, he will be sent to prison or worse. Pip and Herbert try to help him escape, but they fail. Magwitch is caught and becomes very sick. Before he dies, Pip tells him that his daughter is alive and that she is Estella. This is another surprise in the story. Estella, who Pip thought came from high society, was actually the daughter of a poor criminal. As all this happens, Pip also finds out that Miss Havisham feels guilty. She realizes that she used Estella to hurt others and that she made Pip believe something that was not true. She asks Pip to forgive her, and then she has a terrible accident. Her dress catches fire, and she later dies from the burns. After Magwitch dies, Pip loses all his money. He becomes sick and weak, and he also feels regret for how he treated Joe. But Joe comes to London to take care of him, even though Pip once ignored him. This is one of the most touching parts of the story. Joe's actions show that love and friendship are more important than money or status. Pip finally understands this. When Pip gets better, he returns home and finds that Joe has married Biddy, a kind woman who was also part of Pip's childhood. At first, Pip feels sad that he didn't realize what really mattered earlier, but he accepts it and wants to start a better life. He plans to work hard and become a good man without expecting wealth from others. Years later, Pip meets Estella again. Her life has also changed. She is no longer proud or cold. She has gone through pain and has become more kind. The book ends with Pip and Estella meeting at the old garden of Miss Havisham's house. They talk calmly and with respect. The story doesn't clearly say whether they end up together or not, but it gives a feeling of peace and hope. Great Expectations is a story about personal growth. Pip starts as a young, poor boy who dreams of becoming rich and respected. Along the way, he makes mistakes and loses sight of what really matters. But after going through hardship, he learns important lessons about love, loyalty, and forgiveness. The story shows that being a good person is more important than being a rich one. Charles Dickens wanted readers to see that real gentlemen are not just people with money or nice clothes, but those who treat others with kindness and honesty. This story also looks at other characters and how their choices affect their lives. Joe, for example, is a true example of goodness. Even when Pip turns away from him, Joe stays kind and never complains. Miss Havisham's life is a warning about what happens when you can't move on from the past. And Magwitch, even though he is a criminal, turns out to have one of the biggest hearts in the book. All these characters help Pip grow and help readers think about what really makes someone great. Great Expectations has remained popular for more than 100 years because the ideas in it are still true today. People still struggle with wanting more, feeling ashamed of where they come from, and learning who their real friends are. The way Dickens mixes drama, emotion, and humor makes the story easy to connect with, even now. The book teaches us that our expectations may not always come true in the way we want, but sometimes what we really need is different from what we first hoped for.